that does bring me to our player spotlight tonight. It was one of those others, and that was Mr. Derrick White, who all season we were talking about Derrick White. He's not the 30-point games. They're not arising as much as you would typically see from last season. Last season, 23-24, had quite a few 30-point nights for the season, the regular season. This year, 24-25, not too many 30-point nights. However, comes out today in game one of the 2025 NBA playoffs in the first round, scores 30 points, and this performance is especially important because of what we're talking about. Tatum, Brown, Porzingis. Not the best night. 16 points for Brown, 17 for Tatum, and 5 for Porzingis. And meanwhile, Derrick White, he comes out, scores 30 points, puts up 4 rebounds on the board, 2 assists, 3 stocks on the night, and that included 2 blocks and 1 steal. And one of those blocks, it was definitely a high. It'll be on the highlight reel later on in time. But you even see the shooting numbers here from Derrick White: 10 of 18, super efficient from the floor, and then 7 of 12 from three. He was hitting those 3-point shots when the Magic were putting pressure on Brown and Tatum, leaving Derrick White open from the corner. Derrick White was hitting those threes, and this is what makes the Celtics so dangerous. Is Derrick White and really the rest of the supporting cast for the seasons. When Tatum and Brown or Porzingis, like we saw tonight, they're not having good games. The Celtics have other guys they can go to find scoring, especially within a night in which some of the guys at the top of the roster just aren't bringing it. And I'll say this: when everybody's bringing it at once and everybody's scoring, that's when the Celtics can just overwhelm an opponent. Tonight, I know the score indicates that the Celtics overwhelmed the Magic near the end, but that's not really what it felt like. The Celtics can get Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis going in this series, along with Derrick White, along with Peyton Pritchard, as we saw tonight. That's when we're going to see the floodgates open for the Seas. But tonight, a little tougher of a battle throughout the night. However, the Seas overcame the Magic at the end, and it was a lot of it had to do with Derrick White's 30-point night. But examining Derrick White tonight and this game one, what did you like about Derrick White's performance, and how was he able to notch 30 in game one of the 2025 NBA playoffs?
This is going to be a challenging series for the Celtics when it comes down to matchups and being able to get all your guys firing on all cylinders, because the Orlando Magic are one of the top-rated defensive teams in the league for their respective reasonings of how good of on-ball defenders they are and what they can do when they're on the defensive end and led by their two wings. And they also have a good surrounding cast, and including their young defensive bench or their young bench. They all can defensively step in. A lot of lengthier guys, a lot of guys who are more wing build type players, and their main goal for tonight was to shut down Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, and that just opens up the floodgates for the guards, and that's going to be the name of the game this series, is how the Boston Celtics guards can take full advantage of these mismatches and opportunities that the Orlando Magic are giving them. Obviously, if Jalen Suggs was in, this would be a little bit different alongside Mo Wagner, because you would kind of see the Orlando Magic be able to play Contavious Caldwell Pope consistently against Derrick White, but that will just allows Derrick White to run his game, and he's obviously not the one person that you want to leave open when it comes down to this team. Which makes this team such a threat is there's not really a right answer for which player you take the attention off of. And Derrick White was that player tonight. He was able to catch fire for the Celtics, which was the one of the focal reasons of this lead being able to stretch to the point that it did. But he was just making his living off of finding, being that extra pass, that side pass from Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, being able to be that kick out option, reading the offense, being on the weak side, and just is really a floater. And one thing about Derrick White that was big in tonight's game was he was just always moving around on the defensive end, he was causing havoc. He had one of his chase down blocks, and uh, it's a big sign when he's stepping up. And you saw the Celtics struggling off the jump on the defensive end, allowing a few offensive rebounds to the Orlando Magic. And Derrick White stepped up and brought that hustle right back to him through the second half and was able to maintain it at a more consistent rate than anyone on Orlando was able to. And once those 3-point shots were falling, he didn't really have to focus on getting his looks on the inside of the paint, being able to cut to the rim, but just the always being open and always being on the move. Derrick White just is a tough player for Orlando to take out of this equation for the rest of the series, and I really like the fact that we're going to see him moving a lot more on defensive slides, especially with these smaller guards that Orlando is playing with right now. So, um, it's just a lot that we've seen come from him so far.
Yeah, Derek White. For me, the whole season I've not been fond of Derek White and some of his shot attempts. Now, the second half of the season, much more fond of his play in the second half than the first half for sure, as we talked about. But the the imbalance between threes and twos for Derek White, that sometimes got him in trouble at the early portion of this season. Now we saw him balance it out near the second half of the season, but it did start to turn a little bit the other way as the season ended. I will say, Derek White tonight, 12 3-point attempts and 6 2-point attempts. However, those 12 3-point attempts, he hit 7 of them, super efficient from the floor. However, the reason he has those attempts is because teams, they pick to leave Derek White open. And I shouldn't even say they pick leaving Derek White open. It's that they have to put pressure on Tatum. They have to put pressure on Jalen Brown. They have to watch out for Kristaps Porzingis. And then that's where Drew Holiday and Derek White can be so dangerous for the Boston Celtics is when they're left on islands out on the corners of the wings after guys are helping on the Tatum or Brown. It's like they have open shots all day, every day. And not only that, they have hockey assist opportunities. They have dribble drive opportunities where they can get where they can get penetration into the paint. Both of those guys are so good at making plays and also finding open space on the floor, and that's why we see some of the discrepancy in Derek White's threes to twos. Sometimes it gets him in trouble, or did get him in trouble throughout this season, but that was because he was shot chucking in some of those occasions. Now, when he takes more threes than twos, it's usually because the Celtics offense, that's what the other team is giving them. And maybe the other team doesn't want that exactly, but that's what the Celtics can create out of their offenses. Oh, Derek White, if he's going to be trailing in the corner, and Jason Tatum, he's getting dribble drive penetration into the paint. Help is coming over. Tatum's making that help slide over to himself. Derek White's going to be wide open in the corner. Drew Holiday is going to be wide open in the corner. Al Horford as well. He hit a couple of big shots tonight. They're going to be wide open in the corner, and that's where the Celtics can really be dangerous. Is if you have these efficient shooters in the corner, and even let's throw out this about Derek White and Drew Holiday. They're efficient playmakers as well. They're not primary playmakers on the Celtics team, but if you give them the ball and you give them space to operate, they're going to make the right play every single time because they're NBA veterans. They've seen a multitude of looks. They've won an NBA championship. And to this point in time, that's why the Celtics, I know they're not the favorites right now. Oklahoma City after today's game. I know a lot of people are feeling great about OKC being the favorites right now after a 51-point win over the Grizzlies today. That was just embarrassing for Memphis. But this Celtics team, their options on the floor, you have to put them in the conversation. I mean, everybody puts them in the conversation of best team in the playoffs, but over Oklahoma City, Cleveland. It's like the Celtics. Look at their options on the floor. It's scary for any other team to go up against. And I know other teams feel confident in facing the Celtics later on down the line, but this Celtics team is just a really tough ball club to go up against. And guys like Derek White, they're the reason why. You have Tatum and Brown, who are awesome superstars at the top of the roster who can get 40 on any given night of themselves. And we talked about their injuries early on. We'll see. We'll have to see how effective both of those guys are moving into the future. The Celtics are going to need both guys to be effective. But on a night like tonight, where they have off nights, as well as Porzingis, who was 1 of 8 from the floor, 5 points. Derrick White's 30 points. Drew Holiday's 9 points. Peyton Pritchard's 19 points. That's what makes the Celtics so dangerous, is those others who can just torch you when you think, oh, we have Brown and Tatum and Porzingis, we have them locked up. It's like, oh, and now Peyton Pritchard's breaking away for 19, and Derek White's breaking away for a 30 piece on the night, and Drew Holiday, he's coming up with huge threes, and we know what he's done defensively as well. And that's where the Celtics dominated down the stretches. Those others came alive. The Celtics' depth came alive, where the Magic, they just continuously struggled all night long.